Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I have a PhD in computer science from Rochester Institute of Technology. But about a year before graduating, something happened that almost resulted in me being kicked out of the program. Thank God I had a counselor at the counseling center who really understood this quirk inside and out. I think he came from a background like that, so he helped me negotiate with student life and all that. I gotta really thank him. Sometimes it takes one to know one. What had happened was it was a typical afternoon, 4 or 5 p.m., and my PhD advisor had emailed me saying she wanted to talk to me tomorrow, and it was kind of urgent. But she left out what the conversation was about. I think I saw the email at around 5:30 in the afternoon, and I emailed her to ask her what it was about. Unfortunately, and this might be fortunate, my PhD advisor has really good boundaries with work and life. She won't check her email at home, and so I didn't get a response. I tried to ask several of her colleagues in the building who hadn't gone home yet to see if they knew anything about it. They knew nothing. I tried emailing her again. I was trying to take my mind off of it. At the time, I used to love to search rolls of coins for copper and silver. I had gotten several boxes of coins from the bank. I was about to go through them, but I realized I couldn't focus on that even. I had this was back in the days when people actually had cable TV. I had a couple favorite television shows. I used to love to watch TV Land, classical TV. I couldn't focus on the show either. This was before the days of YouTube. This was before Mr. Beast. So I used to love to watch TV Land. Couldn't focus. I had to find out what it was about. And this was in 2010. Back then, people still had landlines. And fortunately, she has a very unique name. My PhD advisor was half Dutch and half German, and they combined both of their parents' last names. And so it was a very unique name. It was not hard to find her number, but when I called, her husband answered the phone. When I introduced myself and said that, I just want to find out what tomorrow's meeting is about, he was very angry and says, tomorrow is tomorrow. I have a life too. And he hung up the phone. I must have called them when they were having dinner, or perhaps they were getting ready to do something in the bedroom. That's my best guess. The way he answered it, it sounded like I had interrupted something really personal. And he was very upset. In fact, he never let it go. After that incident, every time I would see him at holiday parties and other events, he reminded me not to call people at their homes, and not to call my work colleagues at their homes. Not appropriate. He never let it go. If I saw him today at another reunion, he'd probably still bring it up. I wouldn't be surprised. He was so upset. I must have interrupted him at something personal, right? Maybe he was hiding in his own bedroom away from his wife, without his wife in the bedroom. Maybe he was afraid his wife would get he answered it like it was something like that. Anyway, I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on my coins, couldn't focus on my favorite television program, certainly couldn't focus on my homework. I got to the campus. Actually, strike that. I was homeless at that. I was living in the campus. They gave us a really nice office, but I wandered to her office around 6 a.m. that morning, camping out in the office, waiting for her to show. Didn't see her, but I did see some of her other graduate students, and I tried to find out if they had heard anything through the grapevine, asking each one of them, getting more and more annoyed as each one came by. By the time I asked the last one, I wasn't even rational anymore. I was yelling from the gut. And finally, I lost it. I started calling my advisor all sorts of names. Or what kind of idiot is she? I hope she dies. Goes to hell. Something to that effect. And just as I yell all of that, she walks by. She notices my stuff is strewn all over the place. I'm in a mental jam. And I had just told her that I had just told her other student that I hope she goes to hell and all that. Long story short, It took her a few moments to find out why I was so messed up. And she put two and two together and realized that I had called her husband the night before, why I had done that, because she didn't realize why either. She probably just assumed that I got a big result on my research and decided to call her because I couldn't wait till the next day. And, long story short, all she wanted to show me was some papers that she had found the night before, but she wanted to actually say it in person so that I would get the right context. Now, part of the reason I was so anxious about that is that I used to be a little bit of a prankster. And when my PhD advisor emailed me saying she wanted to talk tomorrow, I thought I had gotten caught with something, right? So, for example, when I was working on my PhD, one time I got into an argument with a guy over a girl, and I knew his cell phone number, and I posted his number on a dating site to get him to get a ton of prank phone calls. No, not a dating, on Craigslist to get him to get a ton of prank calls. What had happened was I posted his number saying that the 10th caller will win a 10-ounce gold bar. Not surprisingly, his phone rang off the hook. I used to love games like that. I thought I had gotten caught doing something like that, and that's why I was so anxious. And so, long story short, I don't handle cliffhangers very well, whether they happen in my professional life or recently with my personal life. Like, for example, not knowing if a girl's gonna not show on a date or is gonna ghost me or all that. It makes my stomach turn. It makes it really hard for me to focus on even things that I like, right? And this is one of those things I'm gonna have to think hard about if I go home to my work. I'm teaching Calculus 1 and 2, a class of Calculus 1, another class of Calculus 2. We get a performance review like a month into each semester. My chairperson usually asks if I have anything I want to add. I'll probably have to bring this up in some soft way. Obviously, I can't just tell the story as it is, but it's like, hey, when we talk, can you be mindful to not leave me hanging by my seat because, I struggle with anxiety. Maybe I shouldn't say the word anxiety, but struggle with differences in mental health background, something to that effect, right? Anyway, this is something I got a month to think about anyway. But this is exactly what I'm so glad I had the situation with the dating life. The last couple of weeks have been turbulent. They all turned out very well, but they were turbulent because there were so many unknowns, and it reminded me, oh yeah, this could happen at work too. Let's go ahead and defuse this bomb before it goes off, right? And that's what prompted me to think about that today. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.